Welcome back for yet another look at yet another unofficial Command & Conquer add-on. This time we move all the way to Command & Conquer 2, Red Alert, as it's called here. Yeah, as I've mentioned before, Command & Conquer Red Alert, the first one, was called Command & Conquer 2 Red Alert in Germany very often because it was the first Red Alert game, but also the second Command & Conquer game in total, not counting stuff like the expansion for the first Command & Conquer as a separate game. So as you can see here, the whole jewel case is actually quite competently made. We've got this green bomb here, which tells us that over 200 levels are on the CD, which makes me a little bit skeptical, because so far more quantity doesn't really equals more quality from what we've seen. So this CD here is a German product, we're going to get to that in a moment, and it does use at least a font that's similar to the official CNC font, or at least might even be the one that the official CNC uses. And as it says on here, you need the full version of CNC2 Red Alert or CNC2 Red Alert, and this is actually the English text. This one here has all the labeling both in German and English for the most part, not for this bomb here. And apparently it has been made by CDV Software. I tried to find out more about CDV Software, but nothing much came up, so it seems to be a smaller company that just produced stuff like this here. And the menu, the description are in German and menu and description are in English, and this plus sign here and an end here, I guess maybe I thought that English speaking customers don't like plus signs. Whatever. So yeah, here it says on the disclaimer, Command & Conquer Red Alert is a trademark of Westwood Studios. So here for once they actually give it the name that it had on the box. So, and this is just the usual stuff, what system requirements you need, which are basically just the system requirements for Command & Conquer Red Alert. And oh, they even did get you a graphic user interface for Windows 3.x and Windows 95. You even have a copy and a search function, so wow, it's quite some service here. So let's have a look inside. Yeah, here's just this is more of a general thing here. So this company, CDV Software, apparently was I don't think it exists anymore, based in Karlsruhe within southern Germany. So this is a German product. And here, this is just a general form you can use to register yourself, because back then it probably wasn't done online, at least not as a standard, even though you could probably do it, or at least for stuff like Westwood Chat. And I guess you can also sign up for their newsletter, so you get news about their other products. And here we've got the actual CD. It's actually quite competently made, looks a little bit better than some of the other expansions we've seen. To be honest, it even looks better than some of the quote-unquote professional video games I've seen in my life. So here, what really bugs me, and this is really nitpicky, you can either align the text properly, or you can align like this box and the cover here properly, but you can't align both, and it annoys me for no real reason. Anyway, enough about the cover, so let's have a look at the actual levels. And that's actually 206 levels on here, but again, I don't really see that as bonus, because so far more levels have not equaled better levels. Okay, here we are, and here are all those 200 maps. And as you can see, there are a couple of issues here. Firstly, it doesn't really indicate what size those maps are and for how many players they are suitable. Occasionally it does, occasionally it doesn't, but I mean, just look at these maps here. 1-on-1, it's not even capitalized. This one here is third by Chaffen, 4 Isles, 4 Isle War, Abandoned Battlefield. At least this one here is capitalized properly. This one here does have an indicator, and it does show you how large the map is and how many players should play it. That's good. Here is Back to the Road to Moscow, part 4. Where are parts 1, 2, and 3? I don't know. Weather 0 space 0.9. Net. What's that supposed to mean? And all these maps look like here. Card. It gives you a size here, but it gives you a size in tiles, not in the map category size. This one here looks very thrown together, and this is in pretty stark contrast to how the entire CD was made. I mean, could they really not bother to give these here consistent names? Here, DEFCON 1, Gamma Quadrant. So where are DEFCONs 2 and 3? I don't know. Oh, but here's Delta Quadrant, so that's good too. Yeah, overall this doesn't look professional at all. There's not enough information here, and this should look a little bit better. I mean, they put some effort into making the CD look pretty nice, but that's probably what you see when you check out those in the shop. I mean, look at these maps here. MSP2, what's that even supposed to mean? More money? It's supposed to be no money? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to check out a couple of these maps. I'm not going to play all 200 because that probably make this review explode. And to be honest, I don't think they will be all that difficult. I'm just going to check out a couple of ones. So let's start with Wrong Turning for Moscow Part 3 for 8 players. Which is probably Wrong Turn for Moscow. Whatever, let's just get it started. Alright, the next one is Butterfly of Death. Whatever that's supposed to mean. So let's get going. So far so good. I mean, there were some maps on one of the previous add-ons where you could pretty much see right from the start that map was not any good. Either because you start in a position right next to your enemy, which can make for an interesting game but shouldn't be the standard in multiplayer maps, or you couldn't even deploy your MCV because there was just ore everywhere. So, but here at least it looks halfway competent. There's some ore. And so let's get our barracks ready. There's some water, it's always nice, so let's get a pen, because why not? Let's get a couple of soldiers going. And so maybe one submarine just to explore a little bit, or maybe actually a transport. So you guys can move out a little bit. Then let's get advanced power plant, so at least the beach here is consistent. Cliffs look nice. We've got a nice road going on again. This map doesn't really look all that special, but at least it looks competently made, which can't be said for the mission titles, because those were all over the place and they basically looked like something someone would slap together in their free time and not really something you would want to sell as a professional product. So here is, well, some sort of river. Opens up some interesting tactical options. Probably not something that the AI can properly exploit, but at least something that human players can exploit. So there's an island here. It's going to build a second arms factory, because why not? Again, this shore here is a little bit lazy, and there are some, I'll just call it artifacts here, that should look like it. And well, I've got a bridge here. So overall, this here makes a pretty good impression. It's not terrifying. The bad, nor is it terrifyingly awesome, but I've definitely seen worse. So, next map. So, here we are. I've played a little bit already, and as you can see, this map actually looks fairly decent. Everything lines up nicely. There aren't really any artifacts on the map. There's a couple of oddities like this plane graveyard here, and they do tend to reuse a couple of tiles like these cliffs here more often than necessary, but generally this is competently made. And while the map isn't really special, it does have some strategic options. For example, I could move my MCV over here and then exploit those cliffs over there. It does have enough ore, and generally it's okay. It's nothing special, but it's okay. Alright, the next one is 3 places, no aces, third by Chefen, whatever. Let's give it a shot. Now this one here is actually quite interesting from a tactical point of view. So as you can see, I started on this island here, and I started with a whole lot of diamonds here, and I'm alone on this island. And the AI isn't. The AI can actually reach the other AIs. So, and I have a whole lot of diamonds, so I have a lot of resources, but I can't really expand all that much. At least I can't really expand without building an MCV and getting into another island. And we also have the creator's name on here, which looks pretty ugly and doesn't really add anything, so I'm not a fan here. But apart from that, this is at least a map with an interesting concept, because it's quite different. It's not really suitable for the AI, because the AI isn't really good with the naval stuff. But at least for human players, this is quite interesting. It's a little bit unbalanced. Like the one on this island here probably has a pretty big advantage, at least in the start, because that player has a lot of resources and it's not exposed to the other players straight away. But at least this one here, I should probably build more stuff. This one here does have some interesting tactical options, and it's relatively unique. So yeah, this one here is not too bad. Alright, next is Farmers' Fields, Shipments' Riches, whatever that actually is supposed to mean. Now this map here is just resources and trees. very, very precisely planted trees. And these trees here are basically the tree groups you can get in the Red Alert editor. So those ones here aren't even trees they grouped together. They basically just took what was already made in the editor and just slapped. What are you doing? Basically just slapped them together. So this is another one of those really, really lazy maps. And while it doesn't have any of these tile artifacts, at least they didn't even bother putting those in, because there's nothing you could actually do wrong here. There are no cliffs you could align incorrectly, and there's no water you could like place on the map without a proper shore or anything. It's just these groups of trees, which I think like 3 or so, and that's the entire map. So yeah, this is another one of those lazy maps. And while we have some, I mean, you have this barrier here that is halfway interesting, but really this doesn't save this map. Okay, the next map is God versus Allah. So someone is injecting some political messages in these games. I'm not really sure whether that is actually a good idea. Probably not. So here we are. This is another one of those maps that's actually pretty decently put together, but if you're asking yourself, what does this have to do with Allah or God or religion in general? And the answer is pretty much nothing. And that's the problem with a lot of these maps. Not only are they named in a really weird way, some maps essentially have names that you would get by jamming your head on the keyboard, but they also don't tell you what size they are most of the time and for how many players they are suitable. And they also have names that tell you nothing about the actual map. For example, the one map called Farmers, Fields, Fishermen's Riches, it doesn't really tell you anything about the map. In fact, it's misleading because the map is not a map for naval combat, it just has this one forest on it. And you would think that the map called Fishermen's Riches would definitely be a map with naval combat, but it's not. So these maps should have been sorted a lot better. And it's not like that takes a whole lot of time. I mean, if you make those maps, then you can basically just name them aptly straight away, which is the easiest way to do it. Or if it's too late for that, then please just go through those maps and name them correctly. That maybe takes an afternoon. And if you plan to do a commercial product like this, then you should really invest that time. And that really is all about I can say about this add-on here. It's okay. It's not even as bad as some of the other ones I've put together. I really should have built more units more early, but it's really, really mediocre. And again, as I've said for the other add-ons, don't make 206 maps and make them mediocre. Just give me 20 maps or 30 maps and make those maps tactically interesting if they're multiplayer maps, or better, make single player maps, because those have a lot of replay value too if you actually manage to make a lot of them. But for some reason, a lot of these maps are, in fact, in this add-on, all of them are only for single player, and single player skirmish and multiplayer. And the reason is probably that Red Alert came with a level editor, so making these maps was really, really easy. You didn't need an unofficial level editor. Yeah, nice attempted engineer rush there. And making maps for single player as a non-skirmish maps was actually way more difficult. I know there were editors for that too, but some of them weren't all that advanced or difficult to use for the average user. So they probably made those for, I don't like this tree, for the first CNC, because first CNC didn't actually have a skirmish mode in the first place. You could actually open a multiplayer game, and I think you could probably play only against AIs, but from what I know is that the AI never built any bases. So the AI would basically just sit there and wait for you to kill it, which isn't really the point of an igloo of a game you want to play if it's supposed to be any challenging. So yeah, my final verdict here, this is basically a waste of time for the most part. You can get better maps. In fact, Red Alert comes with better maps than these, or maps that are as good, and there's no real reason to get this. This isn't even worth it for hilarity or just to see how bad these maps are, because most of them, they are kind of not all that great, but at the same time they aren't really bad enough to be entertaining either. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time. Take care and goodbye.